Hi, welcome to First Chapter Friday. My name is Lucy, and the book that I'm going to be reading from today is called Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. And this is the story of a 13-year-old black girl named Amari Peters, whose brother Quentin has gone missing, her older brother, about 6 months before this book starts. And she believes he is still alive, even if no one else does. The Peters are a poor family living in the projects, and everyone kind of assumes that Quentin got in with maybe the wrong crowd. Then, at the beginning of the book, one night, Quentin visits Amari in sort of a wakeful dream state, and he invites her to join something called the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs. This is actually where Quentin has been working and might have something to do with his disappearance. The Bureau of Supernatural Affairs is a secret agency that forms the link between the known world and what is hidden. So it's kind of like the Men in Black movies. And so Amari goes to a summer camp at the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs, and we get to follow her as she navigates this new magical world. She hones her skills, she searches for her brother, and there's a whole mystery that unfolds, and there are really twists and turns in this story until the end. It's full of diverse characters. It doesn't shy away from depictions of racism and classism, but the author has also built this detailed, strange, wonderful new world at the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs that we get to visit. So it's sort of like if Harry Potter met James and the Giant Peach met Men in Black a little bit, but it's also its own thing, and it's great. So I am going to read part of chapter 1 of Amari and the Night Brothers. The whole first chapter is a little long. I'm sitting in the principal's office. Again, in the hallway, on the other side of the glass door, Principal Merritt is getting an earful from Emily Grant's mom. With all those wild hand gestures, you'd think I did a lot more than give her stuck-up little Miss Princess daughter a tiny shove. Emily got up in my face, not the other way around. Wasn't my fault she lost her balance and fell on her butt in front of everybody. Emily stands behind her mom, surrounded by her squad. They cover their mouths and whisper, eyeing me through the door like they can't wait to catch me alone. I lean back in my chair, out of view. You've really done it this time, Amari. I glance up at the picture of the brown-skinned boy on the wall behind Principal Merritt's desk and frown. Quentin proudly holds up the trophy he won in the state math competition. You can't see, but me and Mama are just off stage, cheering him on. There's not much to cheer about anymore. The door swings open, and Mrs. Grant stalks in, followed by Emily. Neither makes eye contact as they settle into the chairs farthest from me. Their dislike for me seems to fill up the whole office. I frown and cross my arms. The feeling is mutual. Then comes Mama in her blue hospital scrubs. She got called away from work because of me, again. I sit up in my chair to plead my case, but she shoots me a look that kills the words in my throat. Principal Merritt takes his seat last, his weary eyes moving between us. I know there's history between the two girls, but seeing as it's the last day of school, I want that girl's scholarship revoked, Mrs. Grant explodes. I don't pay what I pay in tuition to have my daughter assaulted in the hallways. Assaulted? I start, but Mama raises a hand to cut me off. Amari knows better than to put her hands on other people, says Mama, but this has been a long time coming. Those girls have harassed my daughter since she first set foot on this campus. The messages they left on her social media pages were so ugly, we considered deleting her accounts. And we addressed that matter as soon as it was brought to our attention, says Principal Merritt. All 4 girls received written warnings. How about the stuff they say to my face? I lean forward in my chair, face burning. They call me charity case and free lunch, and remind me every chance that they get that kids like me don't belong here. Because you don't, says Emily. Quiet, Mrs. Grant snaps. Emily rolls her eyes. Mrs. Grant stands, turning her attention to Mama. I'll have a talk with my daughter about her behavior, but your daughter got physical. I could press charges. Be thankful. This is as far as I'm taking it. Mama bristles but bites her tongue. I wonder if it's because Emily's mom is right about pressing charges. Practically the whole school saw. Up, says Mrs. Grant to her daughter, and they head for the door. Mrs. Grant stops short and looks back at us. I expect to be notified the moment her scholarship is revoked, or the Parents Association will have a lot to say at the next meeting. The door slams behind them. I can barely sit still. I'm so mad. This is all so unfair. People like Emily and Mrs. Grant will never understand what it's like to not have money. They can do whatever they want with no consequences, while the rest of us have to watch our every step. Are you really taking away Amari's scholarship? Mama asks in a small voice. Principal Merritt drops his eyes. We have a zero tolerance policy when it comes to physical altercations. School rules dictate she be expelled. Taking her scholarship is the smallest punishment I can offer. I see. Mama sinks in her chair. My anger melts into shame. Mama's already sad because of Quentin. I shouldn't be adding to her troubles just because I can't handle a few bullies. I know that it's been difficult, says Principal Merritt to me, since Quentin's disappearance. He was a great kid with a truly bright future. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to connect the dots between that incident and the start of your behavior problems, Amari. I can arrange for you to talk to a counselor free of charge. I don't need a counselor, I interrupt. Principal Merritt frowns. You should talk with someone about your anger. You want to know why I shoved Emily? It's because she thought it was funny to joke that my brother is dead, but he isn't. I don't care what anyone says. He's out there somewhere. And when I find him, I'll show you all. I'm shaking, tears streaming down my face. Principal Merritt doesn't say anything. Mama stands up slowly and pulls me into her arms. Go to the car, baby girl. I'll finish up here. We ride home in silence. It's been almost 6 months since Quentin went missing, but it doesn't feel that long. Seems like just the other day he was calling Mama's phone to say he'd be home for Christmas. It was a big deal because Quentin was always gone once he got that fancy job after high school. The kind where you can't tell anybody what you do. I used to swear up and down that Quentin was some super secret spy like James Bond, but he would just give me this little smirk and say, "You're wrong, but you're not totally wrong." Whenever I tried to get more out of him, he'd just laugh and promise to tell me when I got older. See, Quentin is smart. He graduated valedictorian from Jefferson Academy and got full scholarship offers from 2 Ivy League schools. He turned them both down to work for whoever he was working for. When he went missing, I was sure his secret job had something to do with it, or at least that somebody who worked with him might know what happened. But when we told the detectives about his job, they looked at me and Mama like we were crazy. They had the nerve to tell us that, as far as they could tell, Quentin was unemployed, that there were no tax records to indicate that he'd ever had a job of any kind. But that just didn't make sense. He'd never lie about something like that. When Mama told them he used to send money home to help out with the bills, the detectives suggested that Quentin might be involved in something he didn't want us to know about, something illegal. That's always what people think when you come from the Wood, aka the Rosewood Low-Income Housing Projects. The car rattles as we pass over the railroad tracks, letting me know we're in my neighborhood now. I'm not gonna lie, it feels different coming back here after being on the other side of town. It's like the world is brighter around Jefferson Academy and all those big colorful houses that surround it. Where I'm from feels gray in comparison. We pass liquor stores and pawn shops, and I see D-boys leaning up against street signs, mean mugging like they own the whole world. Jaden, a boy I knew in elementary school, stands with a bunch of older boys, a big gold chain around his neck. He recognizes the car and shoots me a grin as we pass. I try to smile back, but I don't know if it's convincing. We haven't spoken since Quentin went missing, not since he started hanging out with the guys he promised my brother he'd stay away from. Once we pull up in front of our apartment building, Mama buries her face in her hands and cries. "Are you feeling okay?" I ask. "I feel like I'm failing you, baby girl. I work 12-hour shifts 5 days a week. You should have somebody around who you can talk to." "I'm fine. I know you only work so much because you have to." Mama shakes her head. "I don't want you to have to struggle like I do. That scholarship to Jefferson Academy was your ticket to a good college, to a better life. Lord knows I can't afford to send you to a place like that on my own. I don't know what we're supposed to do now." "I'm sorry, but I never fit in at that place." I cross my arms and turn to look out the window. Just because my brother made it look so easy doesn't mean I can too. I'm not Quentin. "I'm not asking you to be your brother," says Mama. "I'm just asking that you try. That school was an opportunity for you to see that there's a big, wide world outside this neighborhood, a chance to broaden your horizon." She sighs. "I know it's unfair, but the truth is that when you're a poor Black girl from the wood, certain people are going to already have it in their minds what type of person you are. You can't give them a reason to think they're right." I don't respond. She acts like this isn't something she's already told me a million times. "If you're not acting up in school," says Mama, "then you're sitting in front of that computer for hours. It's not healthy, Amari." I mean, I know she's right, but it's hard to concentrate on schoolwork when you can hear other kids whispering about you. And posting photos of Quentin on as many websites as I can lets me feel like I'm helping with the search. I know it's a long shot, but it gives me hope. Mama continues, "When you get inside, I want you to slide that laptop under my door and leave it there." "But Mama," she waves her hand. "I don't want to hear it. Until you decide to take your future more seriously, that computer stays with me. We'll talk more about this tomorrow. I've got to get back to the hospital." I slam the car door after I get out, and I don't look back once as I stomp toward our building. What am I supposed to do now? And I'm going to stop there. So that gives you a little bit of an introduction to Amari, and you see that she was at a sort of fancy school where she didn't fit in, and she is determined to find her brother. So now she's no longer at her school, and if you keep reading, you can see what unfolds as she gets introduced to the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs. If you read this book and you like it, something that's very exciting is that it's the first in a series called the Supernatural Investigation Series. And I think that you'll be excited about that at the end of the book because it definitely leaves you wanting more. So pick up Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston.